We decided to start off devising the train station scene first, as it was the one we were most familiar with, as a few of us had already seen the original production of Curious Incident of the Dog of the Nighttime. And it's also the one we could play about with a bit more, as in the script, all that was there was a series of voices saying random lines that you might hear in a train station, with the only stage directions being that the voices are pre-recorded. So from that, we knew that we wanted to have some sort of movement on stage, and we thought potentially to have some sort of slalom type thing going on. So we decided to start off with by picking 3 points in a certain area, and we'd walk between those points and try and have interactions in between. So here, before we were used to it, we had Joel reading out the points, which is why it's really stop-starty, and so we'd get to the point, stop, wait till he said, and then we'd walk on. I think the effect here, if we did it a lot quicker without the gaps in between, would be really good, and it would kind of show a train station in the fact that everyone's kind of going to different places and it's all a bit chaotic in a way, but everyone knows what they're doing and they're not bumping into each other as such. I think the only thing is that all our points are on the outside of the square rather than in the middle of it, which could look a little bit weird when we're all walking through, waiting, going to the outside, then going back into the middle again. So I think when we develop it a bit more, we should try and kind of change a few points to make it more in the middle rather than just being on the outside, and trying to have maybe a few more interactions within the middle, because otherwise it's all very static in a ways. Even though we're moving, we're not doing much, and we need to create characters around it as well. So we started trying to bring in more character devised things, and creating a story around our movements. So the second time we tried to do it, we had more movements, and we also kind of knew where we were going and took out the gap more, which I think works really well. So here we have more character, we kind of know what we're doing when we have more interactions with each other. And then also looking at it now, because we don't have the gaps in between each movements, we always have people going in and out of the space. So even though all our points are on the outside, it looks more chaotic than it did before. And then here Joel's in the middle, and he's playing Christopher Boone, the main character who has autism. And we wanted him to kind of walk into the middle, not really know what was going on, and just kind of get pushed around by everyone. So after 3 lots of our 3 points, we started to do a different kind of thing where people would walk into the middle and like cross over him, to kind of like twist him around to show that like he was kind of in the way and he wasn't meant to be there, which is what this section then is people walking and kind of moving him about, and then especially with Bruce like fully controlling him. I think the only thing with that is that because Christopher doesn't like to be touched, if he is being pushed around a lot more, we have to think about his reactions to it and see if that has to change to fit Christopher's character more. So to create that, we did try and do it a frantic style, with starting off with very basic things and layering it up. So we started off with the 3 points and figuring out what we were going to do, and everyone goes to their points, kind of marching in a way. And then we cut out the gaps in between, so we took roughly an 8 count to get to one, and then an 8 count to get to the next, so we didn't have the gaps in between. And then from there, we added in Joel coming in as Christopher to experiment what it would be like with him being in there. And then from there, we added in music as well to keep us in time without having someone to count from 1 to 8 out loud. So while that scene took a long time to devise, I think we did it quite well because it was in the frantic style. And because we devised it in the frantic style, it made it a lot more seeming like their style anyway. And then eventually what we're going to do with the voices is pre-record them like the script says to do, and have them playing over the top and roughly using the lines to tell us when to go and when to stop, sort of thing. And also what we wanted to do with the voices is start off quite like each line separately with as little a gap as possible, but then as soon as Joel comes in as Christopher, we wanted to start overlapping the lines a bit more, making it a bit more chaotic through the sound as well as through our motions. So we'd have to do the first few lines as quite separate, but allowing people to hear what we're saying, and then figuring out roughly when Joel would be coming in the lines, and from there start to overlap them a bit more and see what we can do to make it more effective to the audience as to what we're trying to portray.